We've been hearing a lot about POTS decommissioning. We've heard, the rumble in the market. This has been going on for some time. Decommissioning rates are going up, and while we, have talked about it and we've cautioned about it, and now it's urgent. We're seeing some customer lines go up as much as $15, $20. We expect to see that more for regular old POTS lines. We're seeing POTS lines completely decommissioned, and if that customer doesn't make another choice for service, their lines are going out, and they're sometimes even losing their phone numbers. So we'd like to dig in a little bit more today. We have about 120 people on this call, so welcome to our customers or folks that are interested, our partners. I see some of our competitors on, and that just shows you what a big deal that this is in our industry right now. First and foremost, I want to introduce two experts on this, and I have David Bailey, who's our Vice President of Product, and he's going to talk a little bit, give us some insight, as well as Paul West, our Director of Product, who handles POTS lines for BullsEye and has seen firsthand the havoc that this is wreaking on the market. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and get started. So guys, as I said before, we've heard for years that POTS TDM lines are going away, with forbearance being the key contributor. Now that it's happening and at a rapid rate, and CLECs are, no longer, CLECs, LECs no longer want to support these lines, and they're actually decommissioning them. Can you give us a little bit of your take? I know we want to be careful to not be doom and gloom, but I think we're kind of getting close to the doom and gloom if folks don't move on it. So let's go ahead. David Bailey, can you talk a little bit about this?
Yeah, thanks, Gina. We talked about this very subject, just only a few months ago, but it's vitally important, I think, in the industry right now, and we're now starting to see a lot of action and movement in this area. Specifically, we're seeing some rapid decommissioning and the implementation of much higher costs, which can both be extremely disruptive to customers.
Yeah, so I'm going to jump to Paul now, because you all have to take turns. So I'm going to jump over to Paul. Paul, can you just give a brief overview of what forbearance is for the folks that are on this call that don't understand forbearance?
Sure. Yeah. Thank you, Gina. Well, forbearance, which aims to address, provisions in the 1996 Telecom Act, targets regulations dealing with unbundling and resale requirements. This affects the incumbent, local carriers, and in turn affects CLECs such as us and some of our competitors. Ultimately, this impacts prices and potentially service availability. This has led to and will continue to contribute to price volatility in the market. It's accelerating some carriers, just to move away from traditional POTS services, resulting in the sunsetting and decommissioning, as Dave has mentioned, of POTS services with those carriers altogether. And specifically, forbearance is impacting, the costs on lines that we're purchasing today. It's impacted our embedded base, and I think it also has impacted how the carriers are looking at their networks. They're not investing in their networks, they're copper networks, like they were in the past. So that's created issues around, servicing lines, reliability, and availability. So it's affecting everything. It really is. It's got a very large impact on the market.
Yikes. Okay, so let's break it down a little bit. David, what does that mean? I'm trying not to call you by your work name, which is Bailey to me, so I'm trying to be professional and call you David. So Bailey, tell me what that could mean to the end user. I mean, seriously, if this happens, what can that mean?
In situations like decommissioning, it can mean that services are going to be disruptive, to them. And so it really means that clients should be working with their partners to really identify alternative solutions for their business to try to, essentially future-proof them for the future. And if you're working with a partner like BullsEye, we can help address that with customers and try to take some of that sting out of the issues associated with decommissioning, and more importantly, or as importantly, probably the rate increases that people are starting to see.
That makes sense. So what happens if people don't, there's a lot of alternative solutions out there. So if they don't migrate to one of those alternative solutions, it's just a matter of fact that they can lose their service. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. A couple things can happen, right? They can lose service, when things decommission and they're no longer available. They can, be disruptive if they haven't moved to an alternative at that point in time. When, you don't want to be the last one, I think, trying to move your services in a very precarious environment. So it's really important, I think, to be, proactive and engaging on this topic so that you can make sure that you're looking after your business and making sure that you've got an appropriate plan that's going to help insulate you.
Yeah, I think it's important too to make the point that this isn't a bullseye issue. This is an issue with the Lex out there, right? This is not just a bullseye issue. So I think, I mentioned some of our competitors are on. We're all working to get our customers moved to other solutions. So why do you think it is, David, that some customers don't have a migration plan? They don't have one.
So it could be that, even though there's a lot of, I think dialogue and noise going on about this in the market, it still could be potentially that some consumers haven't heard about this or haven't heard about the alternatives that are out there, or quite frankly, they may not, have been able to digest this. Sometimes it's information overload for people. That's where, it's important to work with a partner like us where we can help, cut through that and help the customer, position themselves to be protected and have their services addressed. I think there's also maybe an orientation that there's been a lot of discussion about this for a great many years, and maybe some people just thought it really wouldn't ever happen. Well, I can tell you it's happening now.
It's happening, that's right. So let's let Paul back in our conversation. So Paul, what's next? I mean, what can clients do? Like I mentioned, we've got clients on here, we've got partners on here. So what can partners do to help their clients, and what can clients do to help with this? Can you walk us through that?
Yeah, let me see if I can simplify this. I mean, there's really three primary choices. You could stick with copper lines. It's uncertain as to what, is going to happen with those lines, over time in all the areas. But the one thing that we can say is that prices continue to change, whether that service will be available, next month or 6 months or 12 months from now is, up in the air in many cases. And, that can create some real issues for an organization. So, I think that, sticking with copper is certainly an option. It's a risky one. Switch to VoIP. VoIP, we've been talking about VoIP for some time now. The industry has, and there's POTS replacement solutions, which we have in our portfolio. But it's an easy transition, and we're here to help customers through that. Especially if services are already with us or with another carrier. I mean, it makes sense to make that transition to VoIP or that POTS alternative. And especially with fire, life, and safety lines, those can be converted, over to using a broadband or LTE adapter in that conversion. It's important to make a decision, because certainly if decommissioning is coming as a result of what's happening with some lines, customers can lose their numbers. And you don't want that to happen. You want to, as Dave said, be in the front of the line and make that transition. And so there's options out there.
So basically, it's keep your line, and you're going to have some uncertainty. You know,
Correct.
your bill may go up,
Yep.
probably will go up. So or you can switch to an alternative. And I know we have, you know, the box, as we call it, that you plug in the adapter. We have VoIP. We have cable co alternatives. So we have several different ways you can change out of those POTS lines. All right, it looks pretty simple. So am I missing something, David Bailey? Is there something I'm missing? Why? You know, help me understand what I might be missing, because to a layman, somebody who may be on this call who's not you know, in the industry, it sounds pretty simple.
Yeah, Gina, I think it's not as complicated as it may appear, and that's you know, kind of building on the statement Paul made. A decision not to decide is a decision. So it's really important that, you know, companies work with a credible one source, single provider, like BullsEye, that can help with planning and implementation, you know, offer them different alternatives so they can choose the solution that's best for them to help them with these challenges. And, you know, as an example, you might choose a different solution for fire and safety lines than you might choose for voice lines.
That's right. That makes sense. Um, how can partners and customers, you know, learn more and access the resources needed to stop the financial burden or the chance of extinction, so they can future-proof their business? Can you talk a little bit? I mean, do you happen to know anybody out there? Let me throw the ball and bat it out to you, Paul. Do you happen to know
Yeah.
anybody out there who might be able to help with this?
Well, I just so happen to, yes. But seriously, Gina, you know, Bullseye does a great job with this. I mean, we've been around for 20 years. You know, we know what is happening in the market. We understand what's happening with POTS. We've put in place what we think are great solutions with great partners in order to offer those POTS alternatives through a cable co solution, through LTE solutions, and we continue to look for what makes you know, the best in class solutions to be able to bring to our customers and our partners. So, you know, there's no one better than us, I think, to really help, you know, customers, partners work with their customers, with customers to cut the cord and just begin. I mean, we offer unparalleled customer care after the transition, and it's backed up by the fact that we've got 99% retention, you know, which is pretty hard to get in the industry. And certainly with what's happening in the market, we pride ourselves on striving to continue to be, you know, a strong player in this space. So, you know, we're here to help. We're ready to do it.
Yeah, and when you have a 99% customer retention rate, meaning 99 of our percent of our customers on average that come with us don't leave. That says a lot about Bullseye. I want to take some questions that are coming in. And either one of you can jump in and take this. For a fire life safety line, does it matter if the client loses the phone number they're using? Is there a reason that they would need to keep that? And then the other, what difficulty would it cause for a client if they lost their fire life safety line?
Right. I can take that. This is Paul. Yeah, I mean, I think it depends. In most cases, no, it does not matter that they lose their number. And as a matter of fact, many customers, you know, they're not invested in that number. They're not advertising those numbers for their fire life and safety. I think it's just a comfort that they feel of if they can, you know, do without that number. I mean, there's no reason why you can't secure new numbers in making that transition on fire life and safety lines. Certainly fax numbers and you know, phone numbers, of course, you'd want to retain those due to, you know, the publicity of those numbers.
All right. One of the other questions is, does Bullseye have alternatives, an LTE alternative?
Yes, we do. We have our Our Be Alert solution is our LTE solution that we have, which can be carried over a broadband connection and have LTE as backup, or LTE can be the primary, and that's usable for both voice and FLS and fax solutions.
I heard a rumor that we're seeing some folks, and this is probably in line of kind of end of life, but we are seeing it where these lines are flipped to fiber and they're going up crazy pricing. We've seen prices as high as $750 per line, right? When it moves to fiber.
Yes, yes, and that is a direct result of some of what's happening with forbearance and the fact that certain types of lines may only be available through what we have on our resale arrangements, and those costs have continued to skyrocket, and certainly have seen lines that high, and certainly I expect them to go much higher.
And Gina, just to add something
Go
there,
ahead.
we don't think it's happening by accident. We think the LEC wants people to move away from traditional TDM technology
Of
solutions,
course.
which is why they're pushing an agenda here, and they're speaking through the wallet now.
Right. And I know that we've heard from customers who, don't really pay attention to their bill. We're all guilty of it. We get our credit card bill. Not everybody goes through it and looks at every line. But, if you're not checking your bill and you're not looking to see, it may very well be that some costs have snuck up on you and some rates have changed. And, again, more the reason to just go ahead and, I'm going to use a strong, very professional Southern term and say cut bait and get to another solution now. Now's the time to do that. One more thing I want to talk about the number of POTS lines out there. And Paul, I'll throw this to you, but just to give folks an idea of the impact, about how many POTS lines would you estimate are out there now?
Wow, well, the number's obviously changing all the time, but it's estimated there's about 36 million active POTS lines in the US that are subject to obviously what we're talking about here. And so that's a lot out there. And so and need to start making decisions on all of those lines.
All right. Someone asked, I mentioned an adapter solution. Can you dive into that a little bit deeper? And I think I said a box because I am so technically savvy. But can you dive into that a little bit more, Paul, again?
Right. Well, our Be Alert solution is, again, an LTE solution that allows us to deploy relatively quickly compared to if you had to lay in a broadband connection, although we can link that solution up to a broadband connection if it already exists, or, if timing is not an issue, certainly we can deploy that with a new broadband connection. But the fact that it's on LTE allows us to place that where we may not have broadband available, or again, where speed is needed. I will say that certainly with LTE comes a little bit of different challenges with making sure that you do get a strong signal where you place that box. So obviously down in the cellar in a bunker might not be the right place for that solution, but in most cases it works very well. And primarily we're within the Verizon serviceability area, although we're looking at expanding that with a dual SIM, and down the road a tri-SIM to allow us to expand to other carriers.
Perfect. So will all copper lines eventually decommission, and is there a resource somewhere that folks can see a timeline, when specific locations will go away? I mean, is there anything out there, Paul?
Not that I'm aware of, as far as being able to just find out wherever. I mean, I think talking to us, talking to your your suppliers is the best way to do that. And that's changing all the time. And, will every line go out of, be decommissioned at some point? It will be, but there's certainly a lot of work behind that. But the point is that the time is now. This is starting to heat up very, very quickly. And we're experiencing this and helping customers through that as we speak. And decision time is now. There's no time better than now to make things move in that direction.
Okay, how are you handling, I should say how are we handling alarm lines that use modem tones, mod, demod, are using T38 and G711 SIP or another method?
Oh boy, Dave, I don't know if you have anything on this. I'm not a real technical guru, but certainly, the solutions that we have both on the Cable Co and on the LTE solutions that are available are capable with those devices. I think, certainly looking into specific signal types is something that we would need to evaluate, but I'm pretty confident that those solutions and many of the solutions out there in the marketplace support those.
Maybe that's one of our engineers out there seeing how smart we are, right?
Yeah, exactly.
How quickly can LTE be fired up?
LTE can be fired up. The service can actually be fired up quite quickly within, a matter of, I guess on the deployment side, a matter of days. But putting the box out there, doing a site survey, and make sure that we're putting it in the right spot, you're looking at about 4 to 6 weeks on the outside to getting something deployed. Certainly, it can be much quicker than that. And also, again, that earlier question around whether you're LNPing a number or getting new numbers can play into that as well, and shorten that or elongate that.
So we talked about VoIP solutions, and either one of you can take this. What do you recommend other than LTE?
Well, BullsEye's got a very robust VoIP capability. We operate our own VoIP platform and switch as part of our product offerings. So I would tell you that, VoIP for many customers is a very successful path for them to traverse to. And, not only does it offer, a safer haven than what we're talking about here with traditional TDM services, but it offers more robust functionality, capabilities, and also maybe as important to customers, more beneficial cost economics, i.e. lower pricing in many cases.
Yeah.
And in today's environment, I think everyone's looking, right, to make sure that they're operating as efficiently and as economically as possible.
That's the truth. Copper doesn't require power. So it's sounding like one of our audience members is asking, it sounds like the alternative solutions all require power to work. How is a power outage being handled with the alternate solutions?
Right. Yeah, I can take that. There is battery backup in all of those solutions with standby of up to 8 to 12 hours. If it's being utilized, especially in a voice situation, that can maybe be 4 hours of talk time, but certainly in an alarm situation, it's much, much longer than that, 6 to 8 hours of backup battery with all the solutions that we offer.
Perfect. Couple more questions and then we'll wrap. So can you give salespeople a way to open up the conversation with prospects about the situation where they may or not be aware of it? I can take that from a marketing side. Of course we can. We have several tools to not only help our customers, but to help our partners be able to explain to their customers. So if you go to the BullsEye website, you'll see some of that. After this call, you're going to receive a recording of the call and a couple pieces of paperwork, a couple assets, print assets that will help you with that. And then finally, how would you word a question to a finance person about the last time they checked their phone system pricing? Is there a clearer way to get the message across that they should review their bill? Do you want to take that, Paul, or you want me to take it?
You can, Gina, you can take that and I'll back you up.
Okay, that sounds great. I would think this is pretty simple with a finance person. It's a conversation that has a sense of urgency. You should be able to get in a door somewhere by saying, "Hey, have you looked at your phone lines lately? Have you reviewed your bill?" The cool thing is you can send your customers, or if you're a customer, send in your bill, and we'll evaluate it. We'll take a look at it. We can tell you where you might save money. We can identify those POTS lines. We can look at the ones that have gone up, and we can offer alternative solutions, to stop the bleeding.
Yeah. I'll add to that. I would say that certainly, depending on the size of the business, we can offer a plan for that migration where it's most critical first. There may be other areas that aren't going to be impacted, as soon as other ones. Some are, inevitably going to decommission. Other ones, there's inevitable cost increases. There's others where there will be no change for the next 12 to 18 months. We can help them identify where to focus first, where to focus second, third, and fourth. And so again, where you can make a technology transformation, where you can remain as POTS if it makes sense, from both the cost and the technology perspective. So again, we're ready and able to help customers make those decisions on a financial and a technical side.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Paul. Thank you, David. And, we appreciate your time so much. Audience, as I mentioned a little earlier, you're going to receive a recording of this call shortly. We appreciate your time and hope you found this BullsEye Happy Half Hour helpful. We'll be doing more of these, especially around this subject, and taking it a little bit deeper. So stay tuned. And if you have any questions, please go to our website. There's a quick name and email address form you can fill out to get more information, or you could call us at BullsEye 877-438-2855. Thank you very much. Have an awesome day and happy Friday Eve. Bye.
Thanks, Gina.
Thank you, everyone.